family. So this is a retake of what we have taken up. And I will be discussing the team-based learning, a strategic approach to collaborative and project-based learning. So may I ask Mr. Fasoni to can you please read the objective for our seminar for today?
Sure. For the teachers to develop ideas for implementation of TBL within their discipline by understanding the key components of TBL.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fasoni. So here our objective is to get an idea on how to implement TBL within your discipline and by understanding the key components of the team-based learning. So we had a survey last time. I gave you the survey, and this is the result of the survey that we had last month. So Mr. Musi, can you please read the first one?
90% of the teachers said that it is important for our students to think creatively, understand how science is used in the real world, and provide reasons to support conclusions.
Thank you. Ms. Killen, can you read the next one, please?
90% of the teachers believe that science is a formal way of representing real world.
Thank you. And let's go back to Mr. Fasoni.
100% of the teachers believe that science is a practical and structured guide addressing real world.
Thank you. So based on the survey, we all believe that as a science teacher, we should connect our lesson to the real world. Okay? And based on this, we also think that science is a tool or a way in which the student can address situations or problems in a real world. So let's go to the next. Mrs. Manganan, can you please read the first one?
I'm still catching my breath.
Sorry. Okay.
I'll do it.
Okay.
So
Ms.
50%
Killen.
of the teachers almost always A, work on problems for which there is no immediately obvious method of solution, and B, put events or objects in order and give a reason for the organization.
Okay, thank you. And then the next one, please, Mr. Musi again.
20%,
30%.
30% of the teachers almost always say that students work together as a class with students responding to one another.
Okay. And the next one, Mr. Pasani.
20% of the teachers almost always said that students work in pairs or small groups without assistance from the teacher.
Thank you. So based on this result, 50% of the students are still not practicing work or problems on which they tend to solve problems based on the situation that is given to them. Another thing is we don't organize things or we don't do critical thinking to our student yet, okay? So another thing is for 30% of teachers almost said that students work together as a class with students responding to one another. So this one, we are not practicing yet the student-centered type of learning in our classroom. And 20% of students only work on a group or without assistance from the teacher. So it's still, we are still working on the student-centered type of learning. And then we have the last 100% of the teachers said that the high student-teacher ratio limits how they teach in a class. So we have, in our school, we have a problem with our large classes that it's not easy to deal with. So based on this, I think that theme-based learning will help us structure more our teaching process. So can somebody help me read the meaning of team-based learning?
A structured form of small group learning that emphasizes student preparation out of class and application of knowledge in class.
Okay, so team-based learning is basically applying independent learning for the students, wherein the students come to class prepared before, and not the teacher preparing them for the previous knowledge or the knowledge that they need to know before they apply whatever knowledge they need for a particular application or for a particular activity. So here in team-based learning, the students prepare themselves first before they come to class and use this knowledge that they gain based on their personal study in order to apply for the activity that they need to do inside the classroom. Okay, so team-based learning is basically started by Michelson, and this is a form of active learning wherein it relies on small group interaction and participation. So what is the role of the students in TBL? Number one is accountability. So they are accountable for their learning. Number two, their readiness for effective teamwork. So the students should be ready mentally when they go to their group work. And another thing is the peer evaluation. Okay, before I go to that, so in my given a reading material wherein they study first before they come to class. So this video and these reading materials are related to the topic that are supposed to be discussed. So in phase 2, we have the readiness assurance. So for the readiness assurance, so we have the individual readiness assurance test. So the individual readiness assurance test is just a short quiz or a short assessment for the basic top knowledge that they need to know before they engage in a group work. The other one is the group readiness assessment test, which is given to the group, the small group, in order to check if the students are ready to participate in a group discussion or in the application of TBL. Now so the application should follow the 4S rules. One is significant problem, so the problem should be significant. So it can be an open-ended question, it can be an inquiry-based question. Then specific choices means that the students can have their freedom to choose how they're going to deal with the problem. Another thing is the problem should be given to all the members of the team, meaning to say same problems will be given to each group. And the last one is the simultaneous report. So after the activity, then the students will report to the class, or they can report their data or whatever conclusions they have to the other groups. Okay, so peer evaluation. So as I told you a while ago, it can be in two ways. One is qualitative, meaning to say it has no impact on their final grade. And another is consisting in the distribution of points among teammates. So that means that the points will be given equally to the members of the group. Okay, so there is a paradigm shift between lecture type of learning and team-based learning. So in lecture type of learning, we have the faculty, which is the center of learning, meaning to say that it's a teacher-centered way of learning. For the team-based learning, it's more of a teacher being a guide or facilitator. And then for the pre-class, a student might study the concept for the lecture, so we're not sure, and we cannot monitor if the student really did their work or not, or their homework. So most of the time, the students don't want to do their homework if we are just doing the lecture. And then for pre-class, for the team-based learning, then the students are ready. They are trained to do to work on their homework, and they are trained for individual type of learning. So for in class, for a lecture type, so the students are passive, they're not very responsive, but in team-based learning, then all the students are involved. The next one, responsibility. So this is the teacher drives the learning, and for the team-based learning, the student drives the learning. And for the course goal, basically, it's like giving them information, that's for the lecture, but for the course goal, you're applying the material, meaning to say that whatever topic you have, then you connect it, you apply it to the real world. So how do we encourage students to come to prepared? So in order to encourage the student to come prepared, then the student should know that their test is considered as a grade, or it is a graded test. And also, you should give them an advanced question so that they know what to expect when they come to class. Alright, so for science, I choose the problem-based learning as a connection. So why? Because we tend to ask the students to solve problems, and we define problem-based learning as a student solving problem with multiple solutions over time, like a scientist in a real world. So we can summarize this in this diagram. Okay, and we can probably put this in our classroom. So we have a student solving problem. We have multiple solutions or multiple options on how to solve the problem. And then the students will be acting like scientists and solving real world problems over a period of time. So as an example, I use this during the first unit. So the scenario that I give to my students is there are the environmental engineer and the city mayor asked them to devise a simple water filter that they can provide to the residents of the city that they can use at home. So the problem here is how can we purify our contaminated water? So for my phase 1, I give them a homework, so it's in your packet. All the materials are in your packet. So I give them a homework wherein they search the internet, the methods and devices on how drinking water was purified from 19th century up to the present. Okay, so because even in the 19th century, they can also get information on how they can apply it to the modern times. And then I also give them a reading materials wherein they're going to study how water treatment is being done in their community. Then after that, I give them like a 5 item quiz that is for my IR